the golden rule versus the platinum rule. And I had not heard of the platinum rule really before this.
I've never heard of it. I don't even know what that is.
Maybe it isn't a thing. Maybe this is like the misheard lyrics thing.
No, I'm sure it's a thing. I just don't know. Go on, tell us.
I was talking with my coworker. I should say black coworker. And I forgot what we were talking about, but it was something regarding race. And, you know what? I was talking about the Amsterdam housing projects in New York City, which is one of my experiences that I wanted to cover. So maybe I should take a step back and cover that real quick. Showing my kind of racial blind spot and not really fully understanding a situation, which is definitely not the only time it's happened and will not be the only time that it happens. It's definitely happening in the future for me. As you know, in New York City, I lived on 63rd and West End Avenue, just behind the Metropolitan Opera building. But in between my apartment and the Metropolitan Opera is the Amsterdam housing projects, which was, I think, all Black people. I didn't see anybody who lived there that wasn't Black. And I would cross through the main sidewalk in between the different buildings in the project. I would cross through it because it was only about half a block to get through there to get to my apartment. And I started experiencing, at first it was people yelling stuff at me, "Get out of here, white boy, get out of here, you don't belong here," stuff like that. And then people threw things at me. I vividly remember an egg being thrown at me and missing. Somebody did hit me with an apple, rocks, ice cubes. Somebody threw ice cubes from a window of one of the buildings at me. So and it was in the middle of the summertime. So I was like, where's this ice coming from? All I heard was just ice landing near me. I'm like, what is going on here? And here's my blind spot, right? I'm walking through there like, I'm not throwing stuff at people. I'm not leaning out of my window of my apartment throwing stuff at people. Why are they doing it to me? And I didn't understand that. And I probably still don't understand all of it. But what I've come to understand now is that they would have seen me as an invader. They would have seen me as somebody who is maybe acting like I'm untouchable, walking through their reality. Maybe we can talk about that more, a different time, because I haven't devoted a ton of brain power to really unpacking everything there. But I definitely know I don't know the whole story there. But anyways, I think I was talking to him about that, and he made the distinction that my perspective is the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And in fact, I literally gave it as an example. Hey, I'm not throwing stuff at these people. Why are they throwing stuff at me? And his point, and my wife, in a separate conversation, separate vein, double tapped it unknowingly, was, I guess, this thing called the platinum rule, where you treat other people as how they want to be treated. So it's not I treat people how I want them to treat me. It's I treat people how they want to be treated. And that forces an acknowledgement of differences, of different needs and different ways to meet the needs. And it also helps kind of break out of like a self-reference criteria where I'm only considering my own viewpoint when I'm looking at other people, and I'm not trying to be open to their viewpoint. I'm not trying to see, what they see and, figure out what they want out of the interaction. I'm imposing, my wants and needs on the interaction. So I think that I wrote it down because I think that's an important point to consider in probably every single conversation on race is that. And most of my examples, most of the things we've talked about in this show have been, I think, a symptom of that perspective where I'm treating other people how I want to be treated, and I'm not understanding what their reality is. I'm not understanding what their needs are, nor am I understanding how to meet those needs or how to contribute responsibly. So, yeah, I'll pause. I know. I see the wheels turning over there. So
Yeah, that was really good. So I have heard of this before, but not in the context you're talking about. I've heard it in the concept of relationships and love. Like different ways of loving. Like I've heard a distinction between a love where you give people what you would want if you were being loved versus the love you give people that they want when they are being loved, right? So I've heard that before. I think that what you just described there, aside from being really valuable, is like an on-ramp for people who are trying to decide to become more empathetic people. I do think it's possible to increase your empathy level, and I think it goes hand in hand with developing a greater perception of the world around you.
And to further that point, it's not quite your own perception of things, but you have to be looking at other people's perceptions of maybe the same situation. Like, as we talked about earlier, just the fundamental difference of when I see a cop car and when my coworker or when you or when millions of other Black people in America see a cop car, it's fundamentally different. I don't think, oh, maybe I'll have an interaction where I get shot to death and die over nothing, for no good reason at all. I've never had to think about that, but it's a reality for millions of Black people and minority groups. So, yeah, my perception is not enough to really understand it. And I think getting through a lot of the ego, getting through a lot of the superficial narratives that are presented to us that we just eat up like junk food from media, from celebrities, from, whatever popular culture kind of injections are. We have to see beyond all of that. And we also have to come to terms with the fact that we need the other people's perspective to have better information and a better understanding. So that's...
Yeah. So I totally agree with all of that. That's well said. Let me kind of bring to light a barrier that I've encountered, especially on social media, that kind of puts a wrinkle in that, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. So, I agree with you that, we all, whether we're Black, white, Asian, whatever, we all need to be open to the idea that other humans know things that we don't. Other humans have perspectives that we don't. They have experiences that we don't. And for a lot of those experiences and knowledge that is gained from them, we have no way of gaining it ourselves without either interacting with that person, gaining the knowledge through them, or through some other medium where where that knowledge is transferred to us, like a book or a video or maybe a movie or some kind of entertainment, which is why entertainment is so huge in this race context as well. And then, of course, there's stuff now like this show, right? Anyone can apply and come on and have a conversation, and maybe that'll help them. Whatever it is, But the limit of that is the individual, right? The limit of that is how open the person is to believing that someone does have something that they can learn. That's the issue. When I enter a mathematics classroom and I'm teaching a mathematical concept, typically, whether the students are whatever race, I don't have to really worry that much about whether someone's going to question whether I know what I'm talking about or not, because most people don't know anything about math in general, so people are not confident enough to challenge, and I have no doubts that if more people knew more about math, that I would be challenged left and right. for the things that I say. But because I'm in that situation, I'm the instructor. Someone has appointed me there as the instructor. It's my classroom. I'm organizing it. I'm guiding everything. There's not really any room for anyone to be like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. But in the race context, I'm not a race scholar. I'm someone who has done a lot of independent study over many decades. So maybe I am a race scholar. I don't know, but I've done a lot of work over many years on this subject matter, and I'm simply trying to share what I've learned. But basically, a lot of people say that I am not an authority who can be listened to on this subject matter, not because I don't have a degree in it or whatever, but that anyone who's knowledgeable about this subject matter or knows about it, it's just our viewpoint has been just like holistically contaminated, and so if we are in the realm of anti-racism whatsoever, and our viewpoint is not one of the color blindness that you don't recommend, which is that we just stop seeing race, stop talking about race, stop trying to use racial categories suddenly, that if I'm not advocating for that, then I'm doing damage. And because of that mindset, we never get to the place where they could actually learn more about, my actual viewpoint. Thanks for watching. For access to the full-length conversation and all of the 2-hour-long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support, and see you next time.